Hey, it's Becky from Patchwork Posse. Today we are going to be sewing the June Tailor project bag. It's clear on the front, it's got a zipper at the top, and you can use any kind of scraps you've got, leftover bits, or whatever else. It's perfect for storing your projects. You can actually see what is inside, which I personally love. All right, here we go. We have got the June Tailor Quilt As You Go set of 2 project bags. So this is a sew by number pattern, which is actually on a stabilizer, which makes sewing really quick and super simple and easy. So we are going to follow these instructions, and then I've got this applique with the sewing machine that I used with Quilt, and we are going to put this right on top. You can check the link in the description to get your own set, but this comes with the zippers, which is awesome, and all your instructions, as well as the sew by number pattern, which is printed on this stabilizer. And we have the clear vinyl for the front, so you can see what is inside your project bag. So I'm going to set aside this, and we are going to just start with the instructions. It has all of your fabric cutting, so you need to pre-cut all of these pieces prior to beginning. This is for 2 bags, but I'm only going to make this 1 bag, and it's got a large center, so I can stick my cutest applique of the sewing machine right on it. So after I open this up, I need to find the one that I am going to be sewing. These are big bags. This is going to be the smaller bag. This is the 16. These are numbered for you. So our center square is 1, and then we've got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And so we are just going to start from the center and sew out. All right, so I have all of my pieces ready to go. The first thing I'm going to do is I am going to fuse my sewing machine right to the center of this block before I move forward. This way it's all secure, it's ready to go, and I don't have to go back and do it later when it might cause me a little bit of issues. So I'm going to pull my center block, set this aside, I'm going to grab my sewing machine, and I'm going to fuse it in place. There is a video on how to cut your sewing machine out using the Quilt. So this is a die. It's super cute and perfect for the center of this bag. Adorable, adorable, adorable. Oh my gosh. Okay, so now we are ready to get sewing on our project. Okay, I'm going to set aside my fabric strips that I have already cut. What we're going to do first is we are going to place this on top of our lining, and the lining is going to be seen through our clear vinyl. So whatever fabric you want to be seen through that clear vinyl is what you need right now. So I have my lining, and this is the wrong side. So the wrong side is facing up. I have it laid out. I'm going to put the right side of my fabric facing up so I can read all of these numbers. What I'm going to do is I'm going to either spray to secure this with some spray glue, or I'm going to pin this in place. Then I'm going to stitch all the way around on this outside line, all the way around. Now that line will help us square this up later. So you do need to stitch that, and it secures the lining to the stabilizer as well. So first thing I'm going to do is spray glue this. For the spray glue, I use the Juki Tailor Quilt Basting Spray. It is not stinky. You can reuse it or, you know, reposition if you need, but it works really, really nice. And you don't need a lot here. So I'm just going to spray a few times. Gonna lay it down, smooth it out. Gonna get that to secure, and then I'm gonna pull this other side up because I did not get this, and just give it a couple blasts. And I'm gonna press it from the inside out to make sure all my wrinkles are out. Now I'm going to take this to the machine and I'm gonna stitch along that outside line just so I can use that later as a reference mark. Okay, I've got that stitched down, as you can see. So it is ready for the next step. So our next step is going to be actually sewing our strips and our pieces down. So the first thing we're going to do is right sides up. We are going to place our block right in the center. If you need to pin this, that's fine too. I can use a little bit of spray glue here as well, just to keep my center square in place. I don't want it shifting and moving when I am stitching. And there we go. Got a little bit of extra out there. The next pieces I don't need to spray glue. We can pin them in place. But for my center block, I'm just gonna hold it down with the glue really quick. But you can pin this as well, so either will work. What we're going to do is take number 2 piece. We are going to place it right sides together. So it's going to be right on here, and we are going to stitch from one end to the other. When you sew this, you will be going through all the layers. You'll be going through the stabilizer, the backing, as well as this first square that we have down and the piece that we're sewing down. So what we're going to do is stitch all the way along this top edge. Because these are cut correctly, it should line up perfectly for your 1/4 inch seam. So make sure you have your center block in the position that it needs to be before you go to the next step. This is where your wood presser comes out. You don't want to press on your stabilizer. So we're just gonna push this back with our fingers. I've got my wood presser here. This one also is by Juki Tailor. It's the Magic Seam Wand. Actually works really well. So we are just gonna press this with this. And we are going to just continue the same process with each of our pieces that we have cut. So we're going to lay it in place, and we are going to pin it. We're going to take it over to the sewing machine, and we are going to stitch a 1/4 inch, and then continue with following the numbers that are on the stabilizer. So at this point, You can go back right now and you can go ahead and add additional stitching. So if you want, I probably need to go around the sewing machine because it's just fused on and I don't want any of these pop off. So I need to do that. But if you want to do any fancy stitching along this, this is the time to do it right now. So anything you stitch on the top is going to be seen on the back side. So you can see all of my previous line stitches. From here, what we're going to do is take this back to the machine and you are going to stitch right on top of the outside line that you stitched before, making sure that all of this fabric is pushed past it. And if you need to pin this down, that's fine. We just need to secure all the layers on the outside edge so nothing gets folded in when we put the bag together. You can go ahead and trim the edge just past that sewn line. Now this is the extra. You're not going to see it. It's going to be trimmed off later. But this will help you know where to place everything. And it's going to be hidden. All these stitches are going to be hidden in your seam anyways. We just need to clean up the edge. Alright, with that done, we can continue to the next step. So for our header area, what we're going to do is just place this, put this in place, and we are going to flip it over, making sure that it stays in place. And we are going to put right sides out our second piece, and you're just going to quilt all 3 layers together. So we can pin this in place. Now we are going to just quilt. So you can do long straight lines, you can do a grid pattern, something on diagonal. You just need to secure all 3 layers together. We are going to finish this bag. So I have my outside already done. It's already quilted and everything. It's ready to go. This is my lining. I have my vinyl ready to go, as well as my header top piece. So there's the lining side as well as the outside. The next thing we are going to do is attach our zipper. So this is a Zippity Do Done zipper, which is brilliant if I do say so myself. So it's got this little area here. So the fabric is already folded and pressed for you. And we are going to just stick our fabric right inside that and stitch it down. So we have to do that. So our header is at the top, then we have our zipper, and then our vinyl is at the bottom. The first thing I want to attach is actually the fabric to the top, because the vinyl can be a little unruly and uncooperative and a little bit trickier to maneuver, and we don't want extra fabric hanging around when we don't need it. So what we're going to do is open this up. So normally these are the 2 pieces of fabric. We're just going to open one side up, and we are going to place our quilted header right inside. So we already have this finished. It's already quilted. Everything is ready to go. We're going to just bump this right up so the end is on that end, and we are going to push over this top, and we are going to just pin it in place all the way down the zipper. So there is multiple layers, so just take your time with this. Stick your header inside, push the fabric back on top, pinch it with your fingers and pin it in place. And we just don't want, we want all the layers to be caught when we sew this down. And so we want to make sure everything is tucked inside. You can kind of peek over and open this up, make sure everything is down. So what we're going to do is we are just going to stitch 1/8 of an inch from this edge, and it's going to catch the back side, and we're not going to be near the zipper, so we don't have to put a zipper foot on our sewing machine. Just take it slow when you are at the sewing machine because there are quite a few layers that you'll be going through. All right, what do you think about that? This is the top. I didn't put a black thread in, and I could have, but it's the same colors as stitching, so I'm fine with that. And this is the back side. So when you stitch down the top, it catches the back and everything is perfect. So we are going to repeat that same process on this side with our vinyl. We're going to fold this up and we are going to place our vinyl right in it. Now you could use glue. You just want to make sure that these edges are going to be somewhat equal because they should be the same length. You can't quite tell that because of my pink, but I am going to use a few pins. I know that pinning through vinyl will leave holes. However, those holes are going to be hidden because it's hidden in the stitches. And so I'm not going to worry about it too much. I'm just going to put 2 pins in, one at the beginning, one at the end to secure it. Now I'm going to take it to the machine. You can kind of look at this to make sure it's in the right place. So you can pop that up. I'm going to take it to the machine and do exactly the same thing. I'm just going to stitch right on top of it. Now, if you find that your vinyl is sticking, use the tissue paper. Use the tissue paper that it came with and just set it underneath the vinyl on your machine so your vinyl won't catch to the sewing plate. All right, just a tip. Make sure you sew at the end as well, because when you're fiddling around with this zipper, you do not want it to just run off the side edge, okay? So take a couple stitches to make sure that you don't do that with your zipper. And now we are ready to finish with a binding. So this whole thing is going to get bound all the way around the bag. We can go ahead and snip our extra zipper off. All right, with that done, now we need to sew our binding on. Isn't this fabulous though? Look how cute this bag is. If you do have something in the center, make sure that it is in the correct position or right sides up, so it's not upside down when you finish your bag, and then that would be upsetting. So, all right, here we go. So we've got our back and we have our top done. What we need to do now is layer all of these together and put our binding on. So I have my binding cut, and what I'm going to do is just start clipping these in place because there's vinyl, so I'm just going to use clips. Now what you'll want to do before we stitch this down to the other side is we want to make sure we don't have a lot of bulk on this edge. So if you need to, take your ruler and trim off anything that is past a 1/4 inch, because that is going to keep your binding out and give you a lot of problems sometimes when you try to pull the binding to the front, when you try to pull the binding and finish it off on the other side. So just go through, double check, make sure you don't snip your corners. But if there's any excess, go ahead and trim that off at this point. Right, with that all trimmed off, you are going to flip it over and you're going to grab the binding and pull it over to the back side of the bag. Now it should pull over pretty good because we have already trimmed this, and once you pull it over, we're just going to use our clips again and clip it in place. When we get to these corners, you're going to notice that it will naturally miter for you, which is exactly what we want this to do. So what we're going to do is, after this is clipped, we are going to take this to the sewing machine and we are going to stitch this down just 1/8 of an inch right on top of that edge. All right, with it all clipped, we are going to take it to the sewing machine and now just stitch along this 1/8 of an inch to secure it down.